Hi everyone, I'm Sham. This video is the second part of the topic fundamental duties. I have already discussed with you some information. I have already shared with you some important information about fundamental duties, a very important topic of polity in my earlier video. So this video is the part 2 of the fundamental duties, very small but important topic in polity. Let me just quickly recap the most commonly expected questions and most important points to remember from the fundamental duties, which I have talked about in my earlier video very quickly. When was the first time when did we have the fundamental duties introduced? In the year 1976. Through which amendment? 42nd Amendment. Under the recommendation of which committee? Sardar Swaran Singh Committee. And in that 1976 year 42nd Amendment, how many fundamental duties were introduced? 10 duties were introduced. And Sardar Swaran Singh Committee gave many suggestions, but most of those suggestions were taken by the government except 3 suggestions which were not accepted, and I already told you in my earlier video what are those 3 suggestions. And when we talk about the fundamental duties, the 11th fundamental duty was introduced in the year 2002, under which Constitutional Amendment 86th Amendment. Like this, in the year 1976, for the first time, fundamental duties were introduced. So you are actually, the people, the ruling party in the year 1976 has amended the constitution. Means fundamental duties were introduced, by which what happened, a new part was added to the constitution. That part is part 4A. Very important bit. Fundamental duties are added to the constitution by adding dash, by adding which part to the constitution? Part 4A. It's a new part added to the constitution. In that part 4A, there is just only one article. There is just only one article. That is Article 51A. In that Article 51A, we had 10 fundamental duties till 2001. In the year 2002, we had the 11th fundamental duty. And that 11th fundamental duty is what? See, whether you remember those first 10 fundamental duties or not, that's okay. But you have to definitely know the 11th fundamental duty, because it was separately introduced after many years. In the year 2002. So the 11th fundamental duty was what? Compulsory education for the children between the age of 6 to 14. So 11th fundamental duty is about compulsory education. And the first 1 to 10 fundamental duties are definitely important, but not difficult to remember, very easy to remember. You can ask me a question, Sham sir, should we study those 10 fundamental duties, or is it not important? I will say it is definitely important, because tomorrow what happens is you go to the exam and a question comes like this: which of the following is not a fundamental duty at all? Which of the following is not a fundamental duty at all? Then what happens is, if you do not know the 10 fundamental duties, you cannot identify which is the duty or which is not the duty. So even for that simple reason, you please study the fundamental duties. I think I don't need to tell you the fundamental duties. You can study anywhere in any book or anywhere the 10 fundamental duties. I have already told you the 11th fundamental duty, that is what? Compulsory education. And I already told you fundamental duties are applicable only to the Indian citizens, and they are not applicable to the foreigners who are residing in India. And I have already told you fundamental duties are not justiciable, which means they don't really have some legal power in the hands of the government. For example, you already know what is the first fundamental duty? Respect to abide by the constitution and respect the national flag and national anthem. This is the first fundamental duty, right? Abide by the Indian constitution, respect the national flag and national anthem. Imagine, I think in most of, most of you may be knowing this fact. Today, whenever we go to a movie theater, there is a national anthem that comes and everybody stands. Imagine if some gentleman doesn't stand up. Imagine if some gentleman doesn't stand up. And I ask him, come on, please stand up. And he said, I don't respect the national anthem. Now, can I go to the police station and, can I give a complaint? If I do so, even can the police arrest? Can the policeman come and arrest this person because he did not respect the national anthem? So it is a case where the fundamental duties need to have some legal authority. This matter is actually taken by the government in the year 1999 and introduced a committee called Verma Committee in the year 1999. So Verma Committee mainly has done what? It has suggested some legal provisions to implement the fundamental duties strongly. So Verma Committee in the year 1999 has introduced some legal provisions to implement the fundamental duties in a stronger effect. And that is the reason why there are already some acts introduced with the government of India. For example, we have Wildlife Protection Act. We have what? We have Wildlife Protection Act in the year 1972. Correct? We have Wildlife Protection Act. It is an act. It is under the legality. So you can't really ignore abiding that. You have to abide by that. Wildlife Protection Act 1972. You also have a very important act called Prevention of Insult to National Honor. Prevention of Insult to National Honor Act 1971. So this act is about if somebody insults the national honor, it comes under this act 1971. See, whatever acts I am telling you now, you have to definitely remember. In the topic fundamental duties, there are hardly 25 to 30 simple bits to remember, right? It is not a difficult topic, a very simple topic, right? So Prevention of Insult to National Honor Act 1971. Wildlife Protection Act 1972. Protection of Civil Rights Act 1955. Protection of Civil Rights Act 1955. Forest Conservation Act 1980. See, Forest Conservation Act 1980. Unlawful Activities Prevention Act, very important act. I think this act, appears on the newspaper every now and then, almost every day. Somewhere somebody is involved in some unlawful activities, and then this act you find on the newspaper. Unlawful Activities Prevention Act 1967. 1967. And many more acts are there which I will discuss in my regular sessions. See, when we talk about a topic in the online session, we have to only try to understand the basic idea behind it. But when it comes to the 100% knowledge sharing cannot happen in the online session. That is why we have the regular sessions. In the regular sessions, we can share the maximum knowledge on a one-to-one note. But when we talk about the online session, yes, it is a platform where some information can be shared. So in this video, I have shared with you some more important points about fundamental duties. And also how the questions will come, I have tried to explain by giving you some important bits. So this is about fundamental duties. I'll see you in my next class. All the best.